A 190-pound Cane Corso that everyone warned this family to return kept disappearing into the basement every night at exactly 2:15 a.m. What this single mother finally discovered down there will shatter every stereotype you have about the most misunderstood breed on the planet. This is Apollo, and this is the secret he kept for 6 weeks that saved a life nobody knew was in danger. 3 months ago, Rachel Bennett made the decision that everyone said was reckless. She adopted a massive Cane Corso from a high-kill shelter in Philadelphia, despite having 2 young kids and barely making ends meet as a nurse working double shifts. Apollo was 5 years old, 190 pounds of solid muscle, with a cropped ear that healed wrong and a scar running down his left shoulder that told stories he'd never be able to speak. The shelter director pulled Rachel aside before the paperwork was signed. "This dog came from a fighting ring we busted last year. He's been in isolation for 8 months because he's too aggressive for the adoption floor. Are you absolutely sure about this? Your kids are what, 6 and 9? And if you're still watching but haven't hit subscribe yet, that honestly makes us and Apollo really sad, because stories like this need people like you, people who believe every soul deserves a second chance. Please subscribe. We need you in our pack." Rachel looked through the kennel bars at Apollo. He wasn't barking like the other dogs. He wasn't pacing or showing teeth. He was just sitting there, perfectly still, staring at her with eyes that looked like they'd given up on everything, except the faint possibility that maybe, just maybe, someone would see past the scars. "I'm sure," Rachel said quietly. Her mother's reaction was exactly what you'd expect. "You brought that monster into a house with my grandchildren? Rachel, that thing was bred to kill. One snap, one bad day, and Lily or Ethan could be—" "Mom, stop." Rachel's voice was firm. "He deserves a chance. Everyone deserves a second chance." But Apollo came home with non-negotiable rules. He stays in the basement at night. Rachel told her kids, Lily and Ethan, showing them the heavy door she'd installed at the top of the basement stairs. "I know he seems calm, but he needs his own space. You don't go down there without me. Ever. Understood?" Lily, the 6-year-old with her father's stubborn streak, nodded slowly. "But why does he look so sad, Mom?" "Because people hurt him, baby, and we're going to show him that not all people are bad." The first 2 weeks were careful and quiet. Apollo ate his meals in the basement, slept on the old couch down there, and came upstairs only when Rachel was home to supervise. He never barked, never jumped, never showed aggression, but he watched, always watching, especially Lily. "She's scared of him," Rachel's ex-husband David said during one of his rare visits to pick up the kids. "I can see it in her eyes. You need to get rid of that dog before something happens." But here's what David didn't see, because he was never around long enough to notice. Lily wasn't scared of Apollo. She was fascinated. Every time Rachel opened that basement door, Lily would peek through, watching Apollo's massive frame move in the shadows. And every time, Apollo would look back at her with something that looked almost like longing. Week 4 brought the strange behavior. Rachel started noticing that Apollo's water bowl in the basement was empty every morning, but his food bowl was barely touched. The old couch where he slept showed no signs of use. No warmth, no impression from his massive body. Is he even sleeping? Rachel asked herself one Thursday morning, staring at that pristine couch. Then came the disappearances. Every single night at exactly 2:15 a.m., Rachel would hear the soft click of Apollo's nails on the basement floor. Then silence. Complete, total silence. No movement, no sound, nothing. Until morning when she'd find him back on that couch, eyes open, waiting for her to come down. "Where are you going?" Rachel whispered to herself one night, standing at the top of the basement stairs, listening to that 2:15 a.m. click of nails. Then nothing. She decided to follow him. On a Tuesday night, Rachel set her alarm for 2:10 a.m. When it buzzed, she crept to the basement door as quietly as possible, opened it just a crack, and waited. At exactly 2:15, Apollo stood up from the couch, but he didn't head toward the stairs. Instead, he walked to the far corner of the basement, to the old storage room that Rachel never used, the one with the broken lock she kept meaning to fix. Apollo nosed the door open and disappeared inside. Rachel's heart pounded as she descended those stairs, each step feeling like a betrayal of the trust she'd asked Apollo to give her. She reached the storage room door and slowly, carefully pushed it open. What she saw stopped her cold. The storage room had a small window well, one of those ground-level basement windows that let in just enough light to see shapes in the darkness. And curled up in that window well, wrapped in an old blanket Rachel didn't recognize, was a boy, maybe 12 years old, filthy, shivering despite the summer heat, and Apollo was lying right next to him, his massive body providing warmth, his scarred head resting protectively near the boy's shoulder. Rachel's hand flew to her mouth, stopping the gasp before it could escape. The boy stirred slightly, and Apollo's ear twitched, but he didn't move. He'd been doing this for 6 weeks, Rachel realized. 6 weeks of sneaking into that storage room, sharing his food, giving this child the protection and warmth that no one had given Apollo himself. Rachel backed out slowly, her mind racing. She went back upstairs, grabbed her phone, and called her supervisor at the hospital. "I need the number for Child Protective Services. Now." Then she went back down to that storage room and sat down at the doorway. Not entering, not threatening, just present. Apollo's eyes opened, meeting hers in the darkness. She saw no guilt there, no fear, just a quiet question. "Are you going to take him away from me?" "It's okay, boy," Rachel whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You did the right thing. You protected him when no one else would." The boy woke up an hour later when CPS arrived with police. His name was Marcus. He'd run away from his 4th foster home in 2 years after one too many bruises, one too many nights hungry and alone. He'd been living in Rachel's window well for almost 2 months, surviving on scraps until Apollo found him. Apollo must have smelled him through the window well, the CPS worker said, watching as Apollo refused to leave Marcus's side, even as they wrapped him in clean blankets and checked him for injuries. Dogs can sense vulnerability, but this is something else. Marcus looked up at Rachel with hollowed eyes that reminded her too much of Apollo's. "Are you going to send him back?" "Apollo, I mean? People always send back the ones who cause trouble." Rachel knelt down, looking at this broken child and this scarred dog who'd found each other in darkness and decided to be each other's light. "No," she said firmly. "He's family, and so are you, if you want to be." 6 months later, Marcus is part of the Bennett family officially. The paperwork is still processing, but he shares a room with Ethan, helps Lily with homework, and every single night, he falls asleep with one hand resting on Apollo's massive head. Apollo never goes to the basement anymore. He sleeps on the floor next to Marcus's bed, that protective instinct fully realized, no longer hidden or ashamed. Sometimes the most damaged souls recognize each other. Rachel told David the last time he questioned her judgment. Apollo wasn't being dangerous. He was being exactly what he was bred to be, a guardian. He just needed someone worth guarding. Because here's the truth nobody wants to admit. We label dogs as monsters based on their breed, their scars, their history. But we forget that loyalty doesn't ask about your past. Protection doesn't require a pedigree. And sometimes, the most misunderstood creatures are the only ones brave enough to save a life everyone else walked past. So here's my question for you. Do we fear powerful dogs because they're dangerous, or because their capacity for love is so strong it terrifies us?